So good morning, I'm all present here. So in this lecture video, I'm just going to share a few points on the subject object-oriented programming, and the topic is exception and multi-threading. First, we will be seeing about what is exception handling. Let me move on to the next slide. So here are the topics for discussion. First one is introduction to exception. What are all the types of exception? What are all the blocks available? Try block, catch block, and finally block. What is a throw keyword, and what is the difference between throw and throws keyword? These things we are going to see. So let me move on to the introduction part of exception. So you know what is the basic meaning of exception, which is an unwanted event which occurs during program execution and which disrupts the flow of the program. Normal flow, it will disrupt. So that is the meaning of exception. So when it can occur, it means it occurs at runtime and interrupts the execution. And what we need actually is we need to handle that exception properly, so that what are all the methods we are going to use, that's what we are going to see. Why exception will be happening, and your execution should not be disturbed uh, on because of this exception. It should not affect the flow of the program. So that's the meaning of exception. Next, what are all the types of exception there? So types means we have checked exception and unchecked exception. What is checked is which can happen in compile time, and unchecked exception which can happen in runtime. So what can be compile time error or execution exception means? Checked exception can only check by the compiler. That too before the execution part. Say for example, you have IO exception and SQL exception is there. And unchecked exception is which will happen in runtime. So runtime they occur during the execution of the program, and it won't check, the compiler won't check for the exception. So here the example is arithmetic exception and null pointer exception here. So this is the general diagram for compile time and runtime. And we are just going to see the methods called as try, catch, and finally, which is basically used in the exception. So try block, which contains code that may cause an exception. Catch block, which handles the exception, and finally block, which executes regardless of the exception occurrence. So if you see in the diagram given here, we have a method block called as try, which is holding the variable called as result that is equal to 10 by 0. So any number divided by 0 is what we which predict the which will give you the infinite option. So that is an exception happened. That exception can be catched by the catch block, and it can be handled there, and final block will display the execution. So this is the basic idea behind try, catch, and finally. What is throw and throws? Throw, which is used to explicitly create and throw an exception inside a method, and throws declare that a method may throw exception to the caller. Say, for example, if you have a condition here, if age is less than 18, you're just throwing an exception like what? It's an arithmetic exception, which is not eligible to vote. So Java will read that file with the help of throws exception, and it will handle the code. So this is what normally happen with the help of throw exception. Throw, which can only handle a single exception, whereas throws may throw exceptions to the column. And what are the advantages of using exception handling? The first point is which prevents normal program termination, and which improves code readability and structure. So then and there, if we are checking the errors or exception, the readability of the program will be much more efficient, and which enables separation of error handling code, and which helps in debugging and maintenance of the code, and which allows graceful handling of runtime errors. So what all the real-time examples I can say is the ATM system, file handling system, and user input validation. So if you go to ATM machine, and if you have given the code wrongly beyond 3 times, the fourth time you may not enter the correct the pin. If you have entered it incorrectly for the fourth time also, the system will give you a notification as a wrong pin as entered. So this is also an exception. And file handling is when a program tries to open a file, but that file is not inside your device means that is also an exception. That 404 file not found, which is a notification given by the system. And user input validation. Entering a string instead of a number causes an input mismatch exception. You are supposed to type number, but instead of number, if you have typed string means, so again one more notification will be given to you. So the sample program which we saw there itself. So this is the mind map for the exception. So this is the assessment part. Which keyword is used to handle exceptions is try block. So in the upcoming videos, we will be seeing about more interesting topics. Thank you.